Hey everybody, welcome to my video. My name is Shane, and today I'll be talking about my experience learning Spanish for about 3 years. Consider this a sayonara, a goodbye to Spanish, because I will be starting Italian soon. So a little of a cousin language, a sister language, and I wanted to talk about my experience, what I do differently, about 3 or 4 things that I wish I would have done differently, about three things or so that really solidify the Spanish or solidify the language learning um, and helped me grow as a Spanish speaker. So consider this an exit video, I guess we could call it. And I'll give you a little bit of an introduction in Spanish, just so you know I speak a little bit. So here goes. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Shane. Hoy quería contarles un poquito de mi historia de aprender español. Llevo 3 años aprendiendo español. En este video quería contarles tres cosas que haría diferente si pudiera empezar otra vez. Unas cosas que aprendí del aprendizaje de idiomas que todos pueden usar para ayudarles en sus caminos de aprender un nuevo idioma. Creo que se aplica a todos los idiomas. No es especial para español, no es especial para japonés, inglés, alemán, no. Creo que estos consejos son útiles para todos los idiomas en el camino de aprender un nuevo idioma. Así que espero que os guste este video. Vamos, empezamos. Okay, so with that little introduction, let's start. I'm gonna cut this a little bit and see you on the next slide. Alright guys, so I'm gonna talk to you about 3 things that I wish I could have done different in my language learning journey, my Spanish learning journey, and 3 things I will be doing differently, because if I had done these 3 things, I would have been at God knows like what level in Spanish right now, like a C2, maybe. No, probably not. But either way, yeah, it would have really boosted my language learning journey. And I know this sounds like some kind of infomercial, but no, it's just like key principles, key concepts that are going to help you learn a language. And let's get started. I have a small little list over here. So number 1 is going to be consistent. Consistency. If there's one thing I could just tell anyone and everyone, is to be consistent. I wish I'd done it. I'd known about this. I've written in comments before on YouTube. You know, consistency is the most important thing in language learning. I've known about this, but I never did it. It's like, I don't know, like I'm sort of a sort of preacher that doesn't follow his own rules. But yeah, I've known about it. Like, you know, it's one thing I will be doing for certain in Italian. And I know exactly now what my excuses are to kind of, you know, not study, blah, blah, blah. But I also sort of regret a little bit, not too much, because everything's like a learning process, right? I wish I could have done Spanish more consistently, but that's okay. I mean, you learn from your mistakes. Yeah, so for like example, Anki was, you know, like the major learning tool, like the way I started learning Spanish. So 3 years of Anki, and out of those 3 years, I've only studied 33% of those days. So 2/3 of the time learning Spanish, I didn't use Anki at all. Now, that might kind of show you a couple things. Number 1, that Anki is pretty powerful, even if you don't, even if you aren't consistent with it. But imagine how powerful it is if you are consistent with it. Oh my God! So yeah, I wish I was consistent with it, which is okay. It's kind of like one of those things that you have to do to learn a language. I know a lot of people go by the philosophy of, yeah, everything should be fun when you learn a language, which I am mostly with, except for in the case of Anki, because there should be some kind of structured foundation to learn a language, and Anki would have been that one. So if I was more consistent with that, I could have made the foundation stronger and therefore increased my Spanish level. So yeah, be consistent. Imagine the power of consistency as compound interest. Every day you're putting something into the Spanish bank, into the German bank, into the Swiss bank. Don't do that. that's illegal, maybe, I don't know. Uh, the freaking language learning bank, and you're going to get your interest. You're going to get your returns much later in the future. Just be consistent with your deposits. Deposits meaning you're studying every day. And so, thing number two that I would do differently is to start to read earlier. So, reading was kind of intimidating at first when I first started learning. When I first started getting comfortable with the language about a year in, I didn't want to read. I thought it was too hard, and sometimes it really is. Like if it's too hard for you, don't force it. You don't have to force it. But if you do force it, it's well worth it because you learn a lot of new grammatical structures. You learn a lot of new words. That's like most of the language, right? And you get a sense of how the language flows. I noticed in my Spanish, I still have a lack of flow, especially when I'm reading, and that's because I haven't read enough. I already know. Like in English, the words or the sentences seem much shorter, or they end faster, or something. Something's off because I'll read in Spanish, and I'll have like the English kind of sentence structure in my head, and I'll stop reading a sentence before the Spanish sentence ends because I'm so used to English reading and not Spanish reading that it feels weird to me. And another thing that reading would have helped is actually the acquisition of vocabulary, and that's I think the most important thing. So reading, for example, I've been using Link, and Link kind of keeps track of the words that you don't know. It lets you import books, blah blah blah. You can have an entire collection, read through everything, and increase your knowledge every day. And it kind of gamifies it, so you know when you're progressing and you know when you're not. But yeah, reading, I missed out on reading, and that would have actually solidified the foundation of my Spanish. That, in conjunction with Anki, like I mentioned, would have literally been an 80% improvement, I think, in my Spanish from where I'm at now, 50 to 80, whatever. Because for me, I feel like I'm very good at the core of Spanish, like daily conversation. But outside of that, I don't have too much knowledge. I mean, I can understand a lot just because I've listened to a lot, but I'm missing a lot of vocabulary. Like legitimately, I'm missing a lot of vocabulary. And my plan to remedy that going into the future is to just keep reading over the next decade, 2 decades, blah, 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 just to increase my Spanish level. So, start reading early, and I'll see you on the next tip. All right, so tip number 3 I do differently is sentence mine, sentence mine, sentence mine. So in conjunction with the reading and Anki kind of things, the consistency keys that I talked about, sentence mining would have really boosted the output of my Spanish. And I know this because I did sentence mining for a little bit, and everything that I sentence mine, I still remember, which is immensely helpful, especially when you want to remember key phrases, key things that you could use daily to kind of, boost your conversation. So, sentence mine. Get in there. Talk to people on Hello Talk. Talk to strangers. Listen to interesting things, and whatever kind of catches your attention. This is the key. Whatever catches your attention, whatever you want to remember, even if it's something you already know, don't worry about the I+1 kind of stuff, right? Whatever you want to remember, put it into Anki, because Anki is basically your database for that. After using Anki, after you get it into your memory, you can take it and run. I mean, you can use whatever you use, sentence mine and Anki in daily conversation, and bam, it's kind of just embedded in you. A good anecdote for this is when I first started talking to someone off Hello Talk about 3 months into my Spanish learning journey. I was speaking, right? I was trying to speak early, blah blah blah, learning all of that. There was one word that I hadn't seen anywhere in like 3 years of Spanish learning. Like no one uses it. It's fanforear. I don't know how to pronounce it, blah blah blah. But it means basically like brag, right? I still remember him using it, and I remember asking him how to use it, and saving that in Anki, and I've never forgotten it since, especially that context. I just haven't seen that word in Anki because I haven't been consistent, blah blah blah, and I haven't used it, but still, it's something that kind of embeds itself into you. So yeah, sentence mine. It's really freaking helpful. Okay, so I'll move on to a thing that's really, really helped me, and that would be the acquisition of vocab words, especially like the most common frequency list that I used when I first started. So when I first started that, I used a 2,000 or a 5,000 word frequency list, of which I only learned about 2,000 words. But that frequency list literally saved my life. Within like 3 months, I was able to understand 50, 60, 70% of some of the stuff that I was listening to. That being like, without the listening comprehension, sometimes it's hard, right? But like, only 3 months into a language, you can understand more than half of what you hear. You can converse with native speakers very slowly, very badly, but still converse because you know the core of that language is super helpful. Um, I'd recommend, if you can, to find a sentence deck instead of a vocab deck, like I mentioned in my How to Learn Spanish video. But that's fine. I mean, if you can learn those most common words, it's super helpful. I know for a fact that's the one thing that really boosted my Spanish and kind of kept me afloat while I got used to the language. So, frequency list and vocabulary acquisition is like the most important aspect of starting. I wouldn't say frequency, I would say getting that vocab down. Learn words. When you first start, just keep learning words, okay? And obviously the frequency list is going to give you the most bang for your buck, but just, yeah, learn a ton of words when you first start, and it's going to help you later on. Another thing that really helped me was, so you can consider this tip number 2, I guess, in what's helped me, is I started speaking early. And I know this is kind of frowned upon in some circles. I don't agree with any of that. It really depends on what your goals are, what your personality type is. For me, I really enjoy like speaking with people, connecting with people, and I think that's what language is for. If you like reading books, if you like watching media, that's awesome. That's really great. For me, it's really the social aspect of it was like awesome. It was the most interesting. It was the most fun. So yeah, getting to that really, really helped me. And I don't think it messed up my accent too much. People tell me I have a decent accent, I guess, which is good. I mean, I don't sound like people tell me I don't sound like a gringo per se, which is good. They tell me my Spanish sounds pretty natural, pretty clear. But obviously, I still have a little bit of that English accent, right? The way I speak, sometimes I'll have the wrong intonations on words. Sometimes my sentence structures, yeah, things like that. But that's just a matter of more speaking, because I haven't, in all actuality, spoken a lot consistently. But I did start speaking early to get that kind of foundation set. So yeah, speak early, speak often if you'd like. Don't be afraid to speak because it's really helped me, and I still need to do a lot more speaking practice, and I will be doing a lot more speaking practice, and that's okay. That's fine. Just start speaking early if you want. And I guess the last tip and what's really helped me in Spanish is listening without subtitles. I've noticed that my listening comprehension like improved drastically when I didn't need those training wheels. I didn't even actually never really used subtitles, only at the beginning a little bit. But the more I like powered through the listening aspect of it, the faster I got acquainted with the listening aspect of the language. I mean, with a lot of the media I was watching, I started like feeling like I could understand a lot, and I was understanding a lot. I was getting used to accent patterns, the way different people from different regions speak, and till this day, I have around 1,200 hours of listening in Spanish. I think listening is my best ability, which, yeah, I mean, I've spent the most amount of time in it, but I'm kind of proud of the fact that I can listen to Spanish and understand it a lot. Most of what I hear immediately, there's obviously, like, if someone has a bad accent, not a bad accent, I shouldn't say that. If someone has a difficult accent, for example, I was watching a video from Madrileños por el Mundo, which is like a travel documentary, travel show, and they interview different people living in different parts of the world. One of the ladies, I just couldn't not understand for the life of me. Half the time, I was like, what is she saying? But as I kept going into that episode, the more and more I started understanding. So that happens every now and then. It's normal. But for the average show, like, if I watch YouTube, like, I understand 99% of it. And I'm not exaggerating because, yeah, that's what I used. I used YouTube, I used gameplays, blah, blah, blah. everything, TV shows, all of that to kind of, increase my input. When I talk to people on Hello Talk, I understand pretty much all of it, 98, 99 again, because a lot of people use slang and I don't know much of the slang. So yeah, it's just keep, listening without subtitles, and your level's going to increase faster than you think. I don't think listening with subtitles is bad per se, and it might actually be better. I don't know for sure, but to kind of get your confidence up, to be sure, I would listen without subtitles, because from what I have anecdotally experienced and learned from others, is that the more they listen with subtitles, the less they kind of relied on their listening ability and kind of relied more on the reading. And that kind of can stunt you a little bit. So, yeah, listen without subtitles, get comfortable, and then if you want, get subtitles on there, and you'll learn words faster that way, for sure, because you'll be able to read after you understand, and you'll know which word you actually missed in the sentence, instead of the other way around. And, yeah, that was it. So that was part of, all the lessons that I've learned so far. So yeah, I mean, that's it, guys. Like, these are things that I wish I'd known, I guess, when I first started learning Spanish. Um, at the end of the day, at the end of these 3 years, I'd say I've attained a level of like a low B2, and I say that because I can speak pretty decently. I can communicate pretty decently, meaning I'll have a conversation with almost no interruptions for half an hour on end, and I can listen to Spanish speakers at natural speed and understand them without any without much difficulty. Sometimes it's difficult. So yeah, a low B2. I have the words I need to use to kind of make any point that I want to. I don't have all the vocab, which would make my speaking more succinct. Sorry, that was a fly. My speaking more succinct, and more concise. But that's okay. That's just the a nature of time, and more exposure to the language. So my plans for the future are to just kind of keep reading. I'm gonna keep reading the link, maybe 10 minutes a day or so, and keep in touch with my friends in Spanish, right? Talk to them, send them voice messages, blah blah blah. I'm kind of just mainly relying on reading right now to kind of keep me grounded in the language. And if I start feeling like I'm gonna slip, or my level is slipping in Spanish, then I am going to really like amp up, or keep reading more and more and more. So like, for example, I'd double it to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, blah blah blah. But for now, I really honestly do think the 10 minutes a day of reading and then like just talking to my friends is going to be good enough to maintain my level and even increase it. Because I've already invested so many hours into Spanish, I don't think that core of the language is going to go away. And again, this is an idea from Luca Lampariello, the polyglot. I guess a lot of you might know about. Basically, like once you got that core of the language, and I think even Steve Kaufman talks about this. Once you have that core, you're not going to forget it. You're going to have that there for the rest of your life, and as long as you can go back to the language, reactivate it, you're done. So in that sense, like, language learning is something that you can never waste your time on, because once you learn something, it's there. All you would need to do in the future is to reactivate it. Well, I don't know how like it would work in the most extreme of cases, but it really has been something that I've learned in my journey, because I took long breaks, long pauses between my Spanish learning journey, like sometimes 3 months, sometimes I think even one time like 6 months of not doing much of anything, and my Spanish was like still not that bad. Like literally, it wasn't that bad. And coming back to it, it just got better and better and better, and I'm probably at my best point now than I've ever been before, right? Which is good because I haven't lost much. And yeah, I mean, keep going, be consistent. Follow the tips, follow the things that I've talked about. This is more of a video for myself even than for anyone else, because these are things that I've been wanting to write down, think about, and share with people since I started, or not since I started, since I kind of started feeling like my Spanish was winding down. And I'll be learning Italian. I'm going to apply these tips to Italian very soon, starting tomorrow, June 1st, because I'm recording this on March or May 31st, right? So yeah, if you want to see that, follow my journey in Italian. I will be applying these tips. I will be holding myself accountable to all of this, and hopefully I don't freaking fail. It's it's a bit scary to put yourself out there sometimes on YouTube and not follow your own word. It's also a bit of a character development journey. So yeah, follow my character development, guys. And I think that's mostly it. I'll still be posting videos in Spanish. I do want to do an interview in Spanish from now on, or from now. I mean, anytime soon. I want to talk more Spanish. I want to kind of immerse myself more in the culture. But Italian, baby, I'm going Italian, Italian. So, I hope this video wasn't too cringe. And yeah, I guess thanks for watching. Seriously, if you made it to the end of this video, you're either in love with me or a freaking maniac, psycho, whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Ciao for now.